A lot of people, myself included, when they hear the word conversion, they think of RCIA, right? They think of someone who had no idea about the faith. However, that is very limiting because the word conversion literally means to return to God, to return to a godly manner. One of the definitions talks about converting a house for a different purpose, or a space for a different purpose. And that analogy was just amazing for me, because when you think about conversion in our lives as Catholics, you can see that when you really turn to Christ and his will, your house, as in yourself, gets converted to a different purpose, right? You kind of redirect your life. But I want everyone to really quickly take a moment now and think about those moments in your life, moments of conversion that have led you closer to Christ. When we recognize these moments of conversion in our life in the past, we can look for different ways to increase our faith. We need these moments to strengthen our faith and kind of build a spiritual armor around us. So when times like this do come, stressful times, or what's going on in the church right now, we are kind of battle ready to stand firm in our faith. That there is the conversion that we all think of when we hear the word conversion, and that is non-believer becoming a part of the church, coming to believe in what we believe, coming to believe in what the Catholic Church teaches, and then being accepted into the church. But then you also have the moments of conversion we all experience, right? Whether it's we were away from the church and came back, or we just developed a stronger yearning for Christ in our lives as a result of something. All of us have experienced some conversion in our life, because the Catechism of the Catholic Church explains that the sacrament of reconciliation and penance is the sacrament of conversion. And when you think of it this way, you're like, okay, now I truly understand what conversion is. So today I'm going to talk about moments of conversion in my life, because I talk all the time coming back to the church. I was always baptized Catholic, right? But turning back to a Catholic way of living. I've been doing this all wrong. I can't believe I was living a life without my Catholic faith, and I'm coming back. Be prepared. The first one that happened to me that I can recall happened before I even came back to the church, and it involved the rosary. I was at my grandparents' house. I was away from the church, right? And I was sitting there, and we were going to say the rosary, and I hadn't said the rosary, and I don't even remember how long up until this point. And it was my turn to lead, and I had forgotten how to say the Hail Mary. And that was a moment of conversion, not because I immediately, had a road to Damascus story like Paul and was all of a sudden just went back to Mass. No, but it did plant a seed in my heart that while it was months later, I remember that moment as being kind of the first sign that I need to get back my devotion to the saints, okay? It was right after I had started working at ChurchPOP, and at this point, I loved John Paul II. He was like my man, and I was getting to know Maximilian Kolbe. So I had these two gentlemen. I was praying for their intercession, and I was seeing the power of these relationships, hearing about the canonization of Mother Teresa, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that girl. She's amazing. My grandparents were like, hey, we've met her. We have this relic of Mother Teresa. I think it was her hair. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And that was a true feeling of, wow, this is real, right? I realized the beauty that is the universal church and how impactful a holy person could be, and the importance of saints in my life. The last one that I'm going to talk about is one that I've talked about so often, the Divine Mercy Chaplet. Having the Divine Mercy Chaplet come to my attention. Because the minute I recognized the Divine Mercy Chaplet, all of a sudden, literally, and I get goosebumps, all of a sudden an ocean of mercy hit me in the face. Because I had no idea that I was still, up until this point, existing based on trying to meet God's standards. And God was over here, and I was essentially following a list of rules rather than living my life according to God's plan for me. Learning about the Divine Mercy Chaplet opened my eyes to what I had been missing in my life all along. I forgot how much Jesus loved me. I forgot about his mercy, and I forgot all of these elements to Christ. I forgot all of these things that really draw me to him now. Most of the time, I don't recognize how pivotal or how important or how impactful something is until a couple days later, or a couple weeks later, a couple months later. maybe years later. I always thought that the time spent away from the church was wasted. These are great, and these moments of conversion were leading me to Christ, and it was amazing. But all I wanted in my heart was just to forget all the time that I was away from the church and not living a virtuous life and not undergoing the continuous conversion. In your life, in God's plan, there's nothing that's wasted, that He cares about every single moment. And it's been really, really powerful for me. I talk about it with ChurchPOP a lot, that learning more about my faith can lead me to these opportunities for conversion. And it also helps me when leading others to conversion to the church through conversion as well. Because while we do need to focus on others who have no idea what's going on, we first need to focus on ourselves. When I came back to the church, I wanted to share it with everyone, right? And it was like a secret that I had just learned, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm like, I need to tell everyone about this. I started viewing my role in the process of converting others in an unhealthy way, right? Because every conversation I had with someone, I had a goal in mind. I wasn't present, actually getting to know them, getting to know how God spoke to them as a person, getting to know how their prayer life was, what they needed help with, how I could be a vessel in God's work with them. Instead, I wasn't even paying attention, and I was just on a mission to convert them, right? That was very harmful because it led me to have these expectations for other people, but the process of getting to that understanding is very different for everyone. And I've talked about this before, but the best piece of advice I had from my spiritual director before she moved away was to not rob anyone of their journey. So we need to recognize that we are on a journey in conversion, but those who are not even in the Catholic Church are on that journey as well. And it's so easy for us to push our will on something beautiful that God is creating.